Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Torigno again, and I am back with page 4 of your Algebra 1B Semester 1 exam review. This video will cover problems 21 through 28 of the first packet of your exam review. So let's get started. Alright, problem number 21 gives us an equation of a line, y equals negative 3x plus 1, and it's asking about a slope of a line that would be both parallel and then a slope that would be perpendicular to this line. Well, probably the most important thing to figure out is what is the slope of this line currently? The original equation that it gives us is y equals negative 3x plus 1. That's in slope-intercept form, which means if I compare it to slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, the negative 3 is in the m position. That means that right now our slope is negative 3. Okay? When I go to look at a line that's parallel, recall that a parallel line, two lines that are parallel have the exact same slope. So if this line is parallel to this one, the parallel line slope will also be negative 3. Okay? Perpendicular is a little bit tougher. All right, where it asks for a perpendicular line. To find the slope of a perpendicular line, you want to do the opposite reciprocal of the slope that you're given. So if this slope is negative 3, the opposite of negative 3 would be positive 3. And then we also need the reciprocal of that. Remember that 3 is really like 3 over 1. So the reciprocal would be 1/3. Okay? Just to pull it all together, the parallel line slope then would be negative 3. The perpendicular line slope would be positive 1/3. Okay? Let's try that same thing in the next question. The next question gives us the equation y equals 4/7 x minus 8. Again, we really just want to tune in on what our current slope is. And slope is in the m position, which is in front of the x. So our slope right now is 4/7. That means that the parallel line slope would also be 4/7. The perpendicular line, we would need the opposite reciprocal. So I'm going to start with 4/7. Take the opposite of that, which is negative 4/7, and then take the reciprocal of that, which would be negative 7/4. So the parallel line slope would be 4/7. The perpendicular slope would be negative 7/4. Okay. Onward to number 23. All right, 23 is pretty straightforward. In number 23, it gives us a slope and a y-intercept. And hopefully that is screaming out in your mind that we should be using slope-intercept form. And again, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So all I really need to do is plug the 2 in for m and the negative 3 in for b. And that will look like this. Y equals 2x minus 3. You also could write that as 2x plus negative 3, and that would be okay too. Okay. 24 works much the same way. It gives us a slope of 3/2 and a y-intercept of 0. So if I were filling it into slope-intercept form from above, I would write y equals 3/2 x plus 0. Now, many of you are probably noticing that you don't really need the 0 there, so you could leave your answer like that, or we could just write it as y equals 3/2 x. And that would be fine too. Okay, 25 and 26 ask you to recall what types of lines these are. These are sort of special situations of linear equations. If the equation for my line is just y equals a number, that is going to be a horizontal line. Okay? And if you don't believe me, you can always go try graphing that, and you'll find that it comes out to be a horizontal line every time. The slope of a horizontal line, because it's flat, is 0. So it really doesn't matter what number is here. If your equation is just y equals a number, your slope is always going to be 0, because it will always be a horizontal line. Next one says, what is the slope of the line x equals -4? Well, if your equation is just x equals a number, that's going to be a vertical line. And if you think way back to when we did chapter 3, and we talked about all of these linear equations, we talked about vertical lines and said that their slope was undefined. And you could also use the symbol for undefined, which is the same as the no solution symbol. Okay? So again, just to recap, if your line is just y equals a number, your slope would be 0. If it's x equals a number, it would be undefined. And the numbers themselves don't actually matter in those situations. Okay? Okay. 27 and 28 go back to a skill that we actually talked about on the previous page. This is asking for the y-intercept of the line 2x plus 3y equals 12. At the y-intercept, we always know that x will be equal to 0. So as soon as you see y-intercept, I want you to be thinking x equals 0. That means I'm going to plug 0 in for x right there. And if I were to plug 0 in for x, really what's going to happen is that x term is going to cancel out. And I would be left with just 3y equals 12. So really all I have to do then to solve is divide both sides by 3, and you end up with y equals 4. That means your y-intercept is 4. And remember, we could also write this as a coordinate. Since this is a y number, I need to make sure it goes in the y position in the coordinate. And then I would put a 0 in for x, because that's what we said back here, that x would be equal to 0. Number 28 is very similar, except it's asking for the x-intercept. And at the x-intercept, we always know y is equal to 0. That means that I can cancel out my y term here. Might be a little bit difficult for you to see, but if I were to cancel out that y term, I would end up with -4x equal to 8. Then I could divide both sides by -4. And I would end up with x equal to -2. As a coordinate then, that would be -2, 0. Again, we're putting the -2 in the first position there because it is the x term. And then we said y was equal to 0, so that's why a 0 goes there. So that's it for the linear equations portion of this page. That took us through problem number 28.